Module 3, Objective 13, define articulation and differentiate between the functional and structural classifications of articulations. This slide seemed to be out of place. I think it was after the last slide of the last objective, but it should be close by. But articulations are joints, and joints occur any place where two bones come together, and joints allow for body movement. There's a trade-off between strength and mobility, which we'll see very soon. We can classify joints in a number of ways. We can look at the anatomical structure of a joint and classify them structurally, or we can classify them by their range of motion, and that would be a functional classification. Ultimately, it's the structure of the joint that determines the function. Structural classifications include looking at the histology of the joint. We have fibrous joints and cartilaginous and bony and synovial. And while this is an adequate way of classifying, we are not going to focus on structural classification, but we're going to look at functional classification. Under functional classification, there are three types of joints. We have the synarthrosis joint, the amphiarthrosis joint, and the diarthrosis joint. Synarthrotic joints are immovable joints. The joint itself is fibrous or cartilaginous in nature, and often these joints fuse over time, and we'll look at examples shortly. Amphiarthrotic joints are slightly movable joints. Again, fibrous are cartilaginous in nature. They do allow for some movement. The diarthrotic joints are the freely movable joints, and these are the joints that you think of when you think of anatomical joints. They allow for free movement. They're also known as synovial joint, and we can subdivide them on the type of motion that they allow for. So synarthrotic joints are immovable. They're very strong. In fact, the edges of the bones may actually interdigitate with the neighboring bone or interlock. These are found in areas where movement must be prevented, such as the sutures of the skull. I know you probably would never have considered sutures a joint, but by definition, where two bones come together, you have a joint. Therefore, this is a joint. It's just a synarthrotic joint, one that is immovable. Amphiarthroses are slightly movable joints. They're definitely more movable than the synarthrotic joints, but they're not as freely movable as the last class, the diarthrotic joints. They're strong. They're stronger than the freely movable diarthrotic joints. Often they're cartilaginous. If you consider the intervertebral discs between the bodies of the vertebrae, these are amphiarthrotic joints. I don't have an image, but if you consider the pubic symphysis between the two pubic bones anteriorly, these are amphiarthrotic joints as well. So that symphysis, that pubic symphysis, located between the two pubic bones of the coxa. So slight movement. Lastly, we have the diarthrotic joints. These are the synovial joints, and they're freely movable. These are found at the ends of all long bones, and they, by anatomical design, are the weakest of all the joints. Because of that weakness, they have to have a lot of support